Hunter has 10 subclasses and it's been 6 weeks since Bungie changed the way supers and abilities work, so we're going to tell you what the best ones are for PvP. That's right, I said we because I paired up with my good friend GoldEagle, who is easily one of the best hunters in the world. He streams on Twitch and runs a YouTube channel as well. If you like Wallace content, I guarantee you will love GoldEagle's channel. Now, we felt it would be best to share the top 3, followed by the middle 3, call them honorable mentions if you will, and then ultimately leaving the bottom 4 as just needing some more love from Bungie. I've used gameplay from GoldEagle in the background to showcase just how good this man is at Destiny, alright? So please do me a favor after this video, go right to his YouTube channel and sub. If he hits 30k subs from this video in January, I will force him to do a face reveal. Alright, let's start off with Night Stalker. Right from the get-go, Top Tree Void was indirectly buffed by the fact that its tether is a tier 4 super. To put that into perspective, here's a graph showing how long it takes for you to get your super by every subclass. Shadow Shot running as low as 20 intellect would be faster than the Spectral Blade running 70. I know tether gets a bad rap, but since you'll be getting it first, you can easily clutch a trials round and turn the tide in a game. Not to mention the fact that if you actually do catch someone with it, you'll be giving orbs to your teammates who might be on slower tier supers, and that'll help them get theirs faster. That's not even the main reason for gaining pegs on the totem pole though. The invisibility is so much stronger than I thought. And I think all it took was removing Destiny's, super and ability spam from 3s to really help this one shine. When an elite hunter plays top void and goes invisible for 5 seconds or even 7 with that graviton helmet, they can flank you so fast and make a play you won't even know what hit you. I've been seeing more and more use of that smoke grenade for radar bait as well. It sticks to the spot you throw it for 10 seconds and a well-coordinated team can gain map control once it's thrown. I don't know how many times I've seen someone's aim get thrown off by the fact that their radar pings for no reason, or it grabs my attention away and then all of a sudden I'm getting 2v1'd. It's incredibly useful. Then above all else, you have this perk called Keen Scout, which I think people sleep on way too much as well. It literally gives you stompy sprint speeds at all times. One little minor bonus is that if you're crouch walking, you're unaffected by the stasis slow. Like let's say someone throws a Duskfield grenade at you, if you crouch and walk out of there, you'll be way faster. And then on top of that, it gives you double the radar resolution. At first, this one feels like, whatever, but once you actually use it for a longer period of time, you start to learn just how often it points out 2 people in their exact spots. Like for example, I don't know how many times my radar is pinging off in the corner telling me that someone is there, and then I go out there and there's actually 2 people. But when you have the enhanced radar, instead of just that big red blob, it'll often tick once for each person because they're not typically in the exact same spot. All in all, Gold and I felt very good about this one being a top 3 contender nowadays. So if you were like me and stuck on Spectral for a long time, please give this one a shot. You will not regret it. Now, what about Middle Tree? What do we do with you, Spectral? The main change was your incredible super simply went bye-bye, I guess. I think we all know how near and dear the Wombo combo is to our hearts. It's been deadly since day one, and it still is, but it was also indirectly hurt by the fact that ability cooldowns were toned down a lot. Having that kill in your back pocket is no longer as efficient as it once was, and furthermore, the fact is that if you do want to get your super early, you actually need to spec really high into intellect. Like let's say you're playing trials, you'll now start to see some people like Defizzle running 100 intellects, which takes away from your other gear stats, meaning you'll have even less of those wombo combos if that's your jam. Now, another key aspect of Spectral is flawless execution. I don't know how many times I've played with Shadow Destiny and he gets a snipe and then he calls out exactly where I should ape in with my Titan brain, right? That perk alone is banned in sweats and tournaments whenever they're running a sniper because of how strong it is. Ultimately, this subclass is truly still incredible, but the overall toolkit and lack of getting your super until the very end of a match, say in trials, it really just doesn't quite cut it anymore for us. So it was time for Gold and I to slot this one down into the honorable mentions. Now, where does that leave Bottom Tree? Well, honestly, it of course has its own unique ways to shine, like any subclass does, but in direct comparison to Top Tree, like if you're going into PvP and you really want to just win, this subclass simply doesn't cut it. I do sometimes see people make the argument that using a smoke for invis instead of a dodge is a good thing, but we believe the opposite based on how many engagements you can actually win with a dodging invis and then saving your smoke for other purposes. Lastly, the super really doesn't cut it, so I'm sorry Bottom Tree Void, you're going in the bottom 4. Alright, how about Gunslinger? Bottom Tree Goldie is so fun, isn't it? Nothing trumps the feeling of hitting that weighted knife to the head, you know what I mean? This one's a tier 2 super, so while it isn't much faster than the tier 1s, and of course it doesn't compare to a tier 4 cooldown, this subclass has a dirty little trick for that in practice makes perfect. Just by hitting headshots, no kills required, just by simply hitting a crit, you will get your super faster, and it's very noticeable. With how complex the game is now regarding super gains, whether it be passive or active regen from damage, I suggest you watch my latest video on intellect, but my point here is that this perk got a hugely indirect buff in the new season. Now on the same line of thinking with headshots, when you do get a precision kill, you then proc something called knock 'em down. This perk gives you massive amounts of handling and stability, and people are always out there talking about handling perks like Surplus or Threat Detector and whatnot, but I swear this one is so underrated. It feels like it's giving 30 handling and stability. It's like imagine your weapons have rapid hit after a kill, except it's just intrinsic to your tree. Then you have line 'em up, which if you haven't noticed the trend with this subclass, it's around hitting a headshot. But if you do get a headshot with your kill, you'll actually make 2 orbs instead of 1, which again can help your teammates if they're also on lower tier super regens. We ended up placing this subclass in the top 3, and our one caveat is that it has a really high skill ceiling. So people who are brand new to the game tend to feel better on top tree Goldie compared to this one, but once you get the hang of it, you'll see the true power of this subclass. With that said, we actually struggled a bit with ranking top tree Goldie because we were torn between honorable mentions in the bottom 4. What we will say is that when you're on smaller maps or in 6s in general, just learning Hunter, this can tend to be more favorable. It has a similar wombo combo to Spectral with the knife and nade. The super is really fun for 7th columns in quick play, but not what I'd really take into an end game PvP, for example. Ultimately, this one stayed out of the honorable mentions due to there being better alternatives outside of Goldie. And with the interest of time, damn it, Blade Barrage, damn you. I want to like you so bad, but we hate you so bad. Tier 4 Super, which is a really quick way of yelling, how did I not kill them? And I will admit, the triple blade melee is fun, so why don't I mention today's video sponsor, Manscaped. That's right, I like to have 2 trimmers because you just don't mix those 2 areas, fellas. Manscaped sent me their new Lawnmower 4.0 in the perfect package bundle. Got the trimmer, obviously, more on that in a minute. It comes with a crop preserver for after the shower and a reviver if you're in a rush and you need to freshen things up down there in a hurry. The main appeal for me is the fact that it's not super bulky, it's completely waterproof, and it doesn't nick my you-know-what whenever I'm down there, thanks to what they call advanced skin-safe technology. Basically, I don't have to freak out about getting too close. One quality of life thing that I really like is the fact that the charging station shows how much battery life there is, because let's be honest, nothing's worse than running out of batteries mid-shave. And the bundle comes with a nice travel kit, some boxers, and they have a promo going on right now where if you order using my code right now, you're going to get 20% off of the purchase, plus free shipping internationally. I'd like to say thanks again, Manscaped, for sending me your updated version and as well as sponsoring the video. All right, back to Space Magic. Let's take a look at Arc Strider. You know what? How about Middle Tree? Where do you think that's going to end up? It's got a pretty slick melee in Tempest Strike, you know, the one that shoots across the ground, dealing 130 damage. One of the funnest things to do is when you slide out and someone's close to you, you can actually just hit them with a hand cannon headshot and then melee to finish them off. It's kind of funny too, because once you do that, they tend to play a little scared around you and your melee. The other 2 perks on the tree, however, aren't as hot as they sound in our opinion. Having ultra fast reload speed from Lightning Weave after a melee isn't really a game changer on a larger scale. And then when you compare Ebb and Flow's ability energy gains to, you know, bottom tree, they just don't compete. We ended up slotting Middle Tree in the honorable mentions because of how versatile the super is. Players who main this subclass never cease to amaze me how many super battles they can win with it. You know, the ability to protect, block, reflect damage, gain map control, it's all so handy. And at a tier 3 regen rate, it's actually okay to depend on quite a bit. Not to mention, if you run the Raiju's exotic, giving you the opportunity to save half your energy by cutting it early, you can catch a lot of teams off guard. As much as we'd love to rank this one higher for the fun factor, we feel it ultimately belongs in honorable mentions. Moving on to bottom tree, this one remains a strong contender. It's also got a tier 3 super, and while it may not be the king in comparison to Spectral for how lethal it is, the synergy on this subclass between all of the perks are just so good. Let's start with focused breathing. It gives you stompy sprint speed like Keen Scout back on Void, but after 1 second of sprinting, you'll begin to get your dodge ability back really quickly, and this can be cyclical for those who use mods that proc off of dodging, whether it be Kickstart, Bomber, Outreach, you name it. Whenever there's passive gains like that, it just makes a subclass's neutral game so much stronger. And then you have combat meditation and lightning reflexes, so that when you're weak, you get to dodge with 32% damage resistance, which helps you live through so many more engagements. Staying alive or survivability is such a key part into what makes so many players good, and this perk almost gives it to you on a silver platter. Then to boot, whenever your health is in the red, you'll get 350% faster charge speeds to all of your abilities. Another passive perk just working for you in the background whenever your engagements. And then lastly, we have Disorienting Blow. I recently posted a video showing 25 tips in PvP, and one of them was that you need to stop double meleeing people and instead just use your weapon after the first melee. Well, this perk disorients them when you do hit them and is probably the only contender for Bottom Tree Striker, for example. It's an absolute gem for clutching up close engagements. Ultimately, we ranked Bottom Tree Arc in the top 3, and we ended up slating Way of the Warrior, which is Top Tree Arc, in the bottom 4. We didn't want the focus of the video to be on the bottom 4, so I won't be running through all of the perks, but it's simply worse than Bottom Tree in comparison, kind of like an inverse to Night Stalker. And honestly, if you're gonna run Top Tree Arc, which is a melee-centric build, I feel like you might as well just start eating crayons. You know what I mean? Like, where are my Titans at? Can I get a hoorah in the comments, please? Okay, what about Revenant? You know, that 4th element out there, or the 10th subclass for Hunter? What on earth do I do with you and your damn Shadow Dive? Let's be real, it obviously has special movement. The actual Shatter Dive maneuver is incredible. Forget about the stupid crystal burst cheese for a moment with that Glacier Nade. The actual maneuver is unbelievable, and I could not believe that Bungie gave Stompy Jumping Hunters a get out of jail free card for when they're stuck in the air. You know, I think I forgot to mention, Night Stalker has crazy good grenades, Gunslinger ain't bad either with the Trip Mine, the Staff's nades are okay. I will mention if you do happen to hit your Arc Bolt, you're pretty much guaranteed to win that engagement. But then you have Stasis. Even after countless amount of nerfs, they're still really good. And while I normally recommend Glacier with the Chains Resistance mod to my Titans, we actually ranked the Dusk as your go-to for Hunter. I hate that I'm saying this, but opening your engagements with a Duskfield grenade is almost like guaranteeing the win. Now, the super for Revenant is nothing to write home about, but it's still pretty good for zoning, and I'd say it's appropriately rated for a tier 2 cooldown speed. And again, we don't really want to spend all of the time on what aspects and fragments that you should run, because there's truly a lot of different ways to run stasis setups. But man, is this subclass fun, and GoldEagle broke my heart, you guys. I didn't get to rate it in the top 3. In all seriousness though, we do believe it borders the edge between the top 3 and honorable mentions. The thing is though, while the movement is excellent, very high level players are currently improving more and more on other subclasses like Top Tree Void and showing us just how insane those can be. We decided, you know what, it's time for Stasis to take a step back. We put it in honorable mentions, maybe because we're scarred forever by how much Stasis has done to us. Shout out to backers though, you're very cool. Now just hold on a second, I have 3 things I need you to do. Number 1 is click that damn comment button and you tell me if you think we're right or wrong, but more importantly, where do you think these are going to be in Witch Queen with the new 3.0 builds? Number 2, please go straight to GoldEagle's channel right now. Watch his videos, you guys. I promise you will learn subconsciously just from watching them. I've naturally picked up things that he does and implemented them into my game without even kind of realizing or doing it on purpose. It's super handy to watch someone like him play. And lastly, number 3 is that if you do hit the sub button on your screen right now, then maybe I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.